Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
And we're back for a second helping out the playoff post-match. I'm joined again by Ethan. It's great to have you on, Ethan.
Thank you. It's great to be on, Megan.
I just, first of all, want to say the scoreline was 1-1. Ethan, what do you make of the match overall?
Yeah, not a great game. I was talking about hopefully an improvement from last night's Europa League final, but it wasn't really that. It was more of the same. A lot of sort of the game never really had too much flow to it. There was a lot of fouls, a lot of throwing people about, or people throwing themselves about quite lightly, I thought. Obviously, there was a few cards for simulation as well. And I think a draw. I mean, you could maybe argue that Livingston should have won the game based off the balance of play, but I think a draw was probably a fair result. But a massive goal at the end for Ross County and Roland Hale, which changes the outlook on this game now. You've got to have Ross County as favourites going back to Dingwall.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't too many chances, but it was a great first goal by Danny Olsen at the corner. Just kind of ricochets and he just taps it in.
Yeah. It was a bit of a shambles. He composed himself and just put it in. Good finish from the defender. Good moment for him, and then obviously he turns the villain at the end when he gives away the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go straight into the penalty then. What did you make it? Did you think it was a penalty, or are you on the fence with it, or?
I'm a little bit on the fence, but I think it is a penalty. I think he runs the risk when he tugs the shot like that. I think it's one where playing in the championship this season, he would have got away with it because obviously John Beaton didn't give it at the time. But when you've got VAR to go and look back at, they did go and look at it, and it probably was a penalty. And it was brilliantly taken by Ronan Hale, and that's 3 goals in 3 games now for him. So
yeah, I mean, rain, hail, or snow. Take that joke whatever way you want to. I'm sorry about that. I know it's late at night, but anyway, I mean, I think for the away team, probably the best result possible. I did say that probably the best result for them would be a 1-goal defeat or else a draw, because I just feel like Livingston on that artificial pitch, they do make it tough for teams.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Ross County would have been coming away from the game if it finished 1-0 thinking, oh, that's a terrible result. Of course, you want to get something positive to take, but a 1-goal disadvantage, they would have fancied themselves to go back to their home park and win there. But now the fact that it's all level, it probably gives them even added extra confidence. Massive blow for Livingston. Because obviously they kept that lead and they would have had to just hold on to it in Dingwall. So a draw's, I think, a lot better result for Ross County, as you said.
Yeah, another big talking point in the match was the wee altercation at the end. I mean, obviously the last few days we've spoke about the person that was done a bit of bad things to the Aberdeen defender at Tannadice, and they'll get this again tonight. I just wish that fans would behave themselves a little bit more. I know tensions are high at these games, Ethan, but I think we need to be realistic about what we're doing and start to respect each other a bit more.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't know what goes through some people's heads. I mean, the Jack McKenzie incident last weekend was ridiculous. It's the worst that we've seen in a wee while now in Scotland, but it's an issue there's always been prevalent with stuff being thrown on the pitch, coins, bottles, other vapes have all been thrown on, and yeah, they maybe don't cause as much damage because they're only little, and they have hit players this season. Arnie Engels was hit by with a coin, I think it was, at Ibrox. There's been other incidents at other games as well, and then the Jack McKenzie was the sort of the worst of the worst right at the end of the season, and you hope maybe fans are taken aback by that and they maybe go, right, this is the damage we can cause to people. And I know this one's slightly different because he's not thrown something, but it looks like he looks like he's spat at the Ross County coach, which is just disgusting on any level. I don't understand. They get into a little altercation of words, and it looks like it's kind of difficult to see because the kind of people are across the camera as it happens. But it looks like with the Ross County coach's reactions, that he's spat in the direction of the Ross
Yeah, I
County.
mean that's just disgusting.
Yeah,
It's just,
which is
it's just,
ridiculous.
I mean, it's just deplorable. I mean, some of the things that are happening nowadays, you think to yourself, like, what kind of human beings are going to these matches? I
Yeah.
mean, not that I'm saying they should be safeguarded to everyone that goes to games, but there needs to be some sort of respectability and some sort of accountability as well. Because I totally get everybody's emotion, everybody's emotional in these matches, especially playoff games or Scottish Cup finals or whatever. They're going to be emotions, but people need to control themselves. No, I don't want football to turn into rugby and everybody be everybody's best pal. But what I'm saying is there needs to be a friendliness about it. Like everybody's in there for the same cause, and to throw a chair at someone and then to spit in someone's face, it's no the kind of headlines we want to be writing about Scottish football because there's so many good talking points about Scottish football. But the last thing you want to do is to be in the headlines for the wrong reasons for Scottish football because at the end of the day, I think there's a good product here.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was a poor end to the season, and the fact that we had the incident with Jack McKenzie being hit with the chair or the seat, sorry, and the VAR incident was poor as well. But I think referees are always going to be under scrutiny. Where fans doing stuff like that is just mind-boggling. I think a lot of fans that do this kind of stuff at the games would never do it outside of football, outside of a football stadium. But you don't know. You don't know what is going through these people's head. I've been to plenty of football games, and I've never thought to throw something, spit at someone. I just don't know what goes through these people's head. And this guy that's done this is on the telly. Everyone can see his face. So I doubt he'll get to much football for the coming years, probably. The Ross County coaching staff, including Don Cowie, sort of pointed him out to the stewards, and the stewards and the police kind of just let him stand there for a wee while. So I don't really know what they're doing. You could clearly see someone surely would have seen what he done. So yeah, and then you seen the two managers kind of conversate at the end after it, and you seen Don Cowie go up to David Martindale and kind of tell him what happened, and you seen David Martindale kind of apologise because he manages Livingston, like he's the face of Livingston. He takes pride in being a Livingston manager, and he'll feel let down more by that than conceding the goal at the end. And it's just double disappointment for Livingston, really, because the same as Aberdeen, it just puts a negative spin on not just the players on the pitch, but the fans in the stand, and it's not fair to the other fans that go and support their team the way they should.
Yeah, another talking point for me tonight was the plastic pitch. I mean, watching the game, it just puts it just makes you feel different about football when you're watching it on the plastic pitch. That might be a biased opinion because I don't like them, but I don't know about you, Ethan. I just don't think it's a good watch when you're watching it on the telly.
Yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't help. It feels like it's not. I don't know. It feels like it's just not really the game. Just it's difficult for the game to flow as well when it's on a pitch like that. And in fact, we spoke about it in the pre-show. There is plastic pitches out there that are of a good quality, but the Tony Macaroni certainly isn't one of them. And it makes for most of the time a really poor viewing because the flow of the game's never great. The ball bounces weirdly and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a pretty terrible game. And hopefully next week it's set up really well with a draw, so it could go either way. It's a one-off game now. So yeah, that should hopefully make it a better game. But yeah, it wasn't the best game of football. I think we were hoping for a
Yeah, I
little.
mean, I think in terms of Livingston, I think they'll be disappointed because they had a few, they had a lot of good openings during the game, and I think Don Cowie would have been happy to get to half time, just the one goal behind.
Yeah, definitely. I remember them having a few chances that were kind of knocking on the door before they scored a little bit. Not really putting Ross County under immense pressure, but they were having chances. There was one Christian Montano had in the second half where it was crossed and he had a header in the box, and he headed it over the bar. That was a real big chance. But yeah, Livingston will look back with regret that they weren't able to see out the lead.
And I think obviously the big thing for Don Cowie as well was to go into Monday night and still be in with a chance to do it, and they'll be home to get a big home crew behind them.
Yeah, definitely. I think they will do as well. Ross County seem like a sort of well supported team. Obviously, it's a bit of a strange case because they're in a small little town that's quite far away from everywhere else. So it's not as if you're like a team in Glasgow or a team in Edinburgh. So they're pretty well supported for where they are. Livingston, the stadium looked pretty empty tonight, but I know the stand behind the camera is where most of the Livingston fans were. But yeah, I think it'll be quite a packed Dingwall because they want to back their team. Because they've seen them in the Premiership quite a lot recently, and they won't want that to change.
How do you think they'll approach him?
I think it'll be the same sort of way they approach tonight, with a little bit more sort of confidence playing at home. Ross County started the game the better to the teams, I'd say. They obviously had that massive chance with the Nightingale header from the Ronan Hale corners, which McFadden wasn't happy with as a striker, with a striker taking the corners, but he was putting in great delivery at that point. Nightingale gets himself free, and it's a good header, but it looks like it is just saved in time. I think they were checking VAR to see if it went over the line, but there was no conclusive evidence to say it had. So I think they made the right decision there. And it's as simple as that, really, when it comes to those decisions. If you can see the balls over the line, then it's a goal. If you can't see the balls over the line and you've not given it, then don't give it. It's as simple as that, really. So yeah, I don't know where Vegans went to. But yeah, sets up the second leg really well, because it's 1-1. It's no away goals anymore, so we've got a one-off game, a cup final for both of these teams in many sense. Winner takes all. Winner takes Premiership with them. Ross County will be the favourites now. That they are the home team and they have the advantage of being the home team. Livingston don't have that advantage anymore. They blew their chance to have a lead, and that may come back to bite them because I think Ross County will take a lot of confidence from their performance.
And I think as well, Ethan, I think if you look at what Livingston try to do, they're trying to take as much advantage because they played on that plastic pitch as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I definitely agree with that. I think it's Ross County's game to lose now, and I did back Livingston before it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Livingston still go there and win, but I think Ross County, they've ended the game better, and I think there's always massive psychological effects in football, and if you're the confident team, if you end a game better than going into the second leg, you're going to be confident starting that game. Same as if you're on a good run of form, bad run of form, how that affects you in any given game. So I would give the edge to Ross County now.
See, in terms of that, I think the big play for Ross County might be Jordan White, because Ross County particularly like to get that ball in from the throw-ins, and I think he could be a key player.
Yeah, definitely. John White's been a good goal scorer in Scotland for a while now, and he's kind of been pushed out of the team a bit this season. And he obviously wasn't the main man last season when Simon Murray was there, but he's been pushed out of the team a little bit to accommodate Ronan Hale, who's obviously had a pretty good first season since moving. But yeah, I think he definitely has a part to play. He's got that real presence. You've seen what he done to win the penalty. He's obviously causing a little bit of discomfort for the defenders. And yeah, Danny Wilson probably shouldn't grab his shot, and it's a bit silly, a bit of a stupid error to make at that time in the game. But just his presence on the pitch is causing enough problems.
Who would you say needs to win more? Do you think it's David Martindale in terms of the financial, or do you think it's Ross County in terms of try to stabilise that money? Because we know, like, Falkirk and people like that, once you go down, it's very hard to come back up.
Yeah, obviously Falkirk's the perfect example. They went down in best part of, what was it, a decade and a half. They were down there for. So it's difficult. Some teams will go down and they won't come back up, and they won't have the chance to come back up. So yeah, I think managerial wise, I think Ross County and Don Cowie need it more, but in terms of club wise, I think Livingston need it more, because David Martindale's always talking about the finances and the finance that they have available, and compared to other Premiership teams, or he certainly did so when he was in the league, and he's quite entitled to do so, because they are financially the weakest team in the Premiership when they were in it. So he's got a fair point to make there. If they get promoted, then it stabilises the club, and if they're in the Premiership, they're obviously going to get more attendances than they have been getting as well. Whereas Ross County, I think if they go down to the Championship, I think they'll still be quite well supported in the Dingwall area. Although I don't think Don Cowie, he might keep his job, he might not. That's a really difficult one to call. But yeah, I would say for different reasons, different answers to your question.
I think you're right there about the attendances, but it's really hard to say what Livingston can do, because they're right in that kind of threshold where there's Hearts, there's Hibs, there's Celtic, there's Rangers, there's Celtic Hearts as well. So there's so many Edinburgh clubs. There's Edinburgh City. I'm trying to think of any other ones before people start moaning at me and I go the comments. But I mean, there's so many clubs near Edinburgh, and that's one of the big challenges for David Martindale and Livingston, because they really struggle to get people involved in the matches.
Yeah, yeah, they do. And I mean, it's not they done what Falkirk done as well. In the sense they were in league before they spent quite a while in the Championship after coming up, a few seasons in the Championship. Then when they went down to League One, then they bounced straight back up to the Championship, then went straight up to the Premiership. So, I mean, when a League One club does that, and Livingston isn't like Falkirk in the sense where Falkirk have been a team right up the top of Scottish football at points, and they've been in the top league. That it's not the same for Livingston. So they've not got that big support coming from their past, their history. So it's difficult to sort of generate a support at a club in Scotland, because it's not like it's not much of a touristy league. Other countries have got clubs that have come up, and and it's still a problem in other countries where clubs sort of grow without many fans, and it's just pumping money in, and they grow, and then and then they don't have a massive fan base. But I think Livingston have reached the point where they've got that sort of jump up where they've come up a few leagues, but they've not really got the fan base behind them, and it's difficult because I mean, people in this country are loyal to their football teams, and not many of them will go to Livingston on a Saturday at 3 o'clock because they'll be going to other clubs, because Livingston haven't really been a massive club in Scotland before now, so it's difficult for them.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, and that's a bit of a shame. And I always think about it. Do you think David Martindale will try and venture out to a different club? I don't actually think he will, to be honest with you, because I think he enjoys that kind of siege mentality of a smaller club. But he obviously has got talent as a manager. But I just
Yeah.
don't. I just feel like he's very happy there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised that he's still at Livingston because he's obviously done a great job for them. And he's surprised that another team's not took a sort of punt on him, but maybe they have, and maybe David Martindale just is happy at Livingston. He's come up with Livingston, and he's sort of brought them up. From what people have said and what the stories are, he's like part of the furniture at Livingston. He does everything. And that's difficult to walk away from if he's because he's part of the fan base, he's part of the community around the club, and it's difficult to walk away from that. But yeah, I would really love to see David Martindale. I'd not love to see him leave Livingston in that sense, but love to see what he would do with maybe a little bit more finance to spend, and maybe a little bit of a more sustainable club. I'm thinking at the moment, I'm thinking of the likes of your Kilmarnocks, obviously looking for a manager. Same pitch, and same sort of style they've played for a lot. Kelly and Levy have both been sort of affiliated with defensive based play, being stubborn, being difficult to break down. So it'd be interesting to see what David Martindale could do like at a club like Kilmarnock. I don't think he would get the job, but yeah, I think that would be really interesting.
I think in terms of this matchup, right? I think if you're looking at it, you probably say it's going to be one in both boxes. And I think if you're looking from a Livingston point of view, Teddy Yengi seems like a good player. Pittman is, and obviously Kelly as well. So they've got options there, Livy, who they can really do that damage to the opposition.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I watch Livingston week in, week out, because I don't. But last season, Tete Yengi was a player who, despite Livingston being pretty terrible last season in the Premiership, he was one of the players who impressed me. He had a decent goal return. I remember him scoring 2 against Celtic at Celtic Park in the Scottish Cup. I thought he was a player that maybe would have went on to sort of develop his career, but it's never really happened for him, and he's been on the bench most of this season. So it's strange how things just don't work out sometimes. But no, Livingston have got some good players that can cause Ross County problems, and they showed that tonight. I thought for the most part, Danny Wilson and Ryan McGowan were pretty solid at the back. Just that one sort of lapse of concentration at the end from Danny Wilson to just to pull John White's shot. But I thought both of them were really solid on the night.
I think you called it spot on earlier when we said it was going to be a cagey game. Do you see Monday being different? They possibly need to go for a bit more, or do you see both teams try to bed themselves into the game a little bit?
It's difficult. I feel like it will be less cagey. I mean, that probably wouldn't have been difficult, but it's the same kind of scenario, but it's not at the same time, because we're pretty much, this game's irrelevant now. It's pretty much a one-off Scottish Cup tie. and the winner of the game will win ultimately. That's a stupid saying, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll play it a little bit differently. Maybe Ross County will go for it a little bit more, knowing it's a one-off game in their home stadium, and maybe that'll open the game up for Livingston a little bit more. Because Livingston have got a pace in their team, more than Ross County, I would say. So if Ross County are sort of pressuring, try to push for the goal, try to take control of the game with the home crowd behind them, then maybe Livingston can sort of play on the counter attack a bit more and open the game up. But yeah, we'll just have to see. It'll be interesting because you just don't know how it's going to play out. And I mean, it could really go any way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Ronan Hale is somebody that I like a lot. I know he's played in Ireland for, is it Cliftonville
Yeah.
before. Big Celtic fan in that. And he seems like he could play at a higher level than the team he's currently at. I'm not being disrespectful to obviously Don Curry and that, but I just feel like if he was under a better coach and a better team, then he could really develop into something special.
Yeah, I would agree. He's definitely got sort of talents, and he shows his talents. I think he's just it's probably something that means that most players don't sort of take that step, and it's his inconsistency. One week he's really good, and then one week he's not the best, and it's difficult being at a club like Ross County, obviously, because you're one of the underdogs in the league. So, but the fact he scored 16, it says here, it might even be 17 now, goals this season. But I think it was a really good pickup, because if you look at his last 4 seasons, all in the Northern Irish League, 2 seasons with Larne, 17 goals, 15 goals, and then 2 seasons with Cliftonville, 28 goals, 22 goals. So he's someone that knows where the back of the net is, and when you bring him to, okay, the Scottish League is better than the Northern Irish League, but it's a step up that he made in his career, and he has done. He has done pretty well. I think Ross County fans would admit that.
I think that's right what you say. I think there's a bit of good recruitment
Yeah, no,
by.
really good recruitment. And he's 26, so he's not the youngest, but he's still got a good few 5 years at least playing at a good level, you would say. So maybe he'll go to another team in Scotland, but I don't. Maybe if they get relegated, he'll go to another team. But I think if they stay up, he'll stay at Ross County.
Do you think it helps that Don Kirby and his team have been involved in it over the past few seasons, or do you think that it's just a one-off game, or do you think because they went through it against Partick Thistle, they would kind of understand it, and then obviously won big matches against Rangers as well, and drawn with Celtic. So do you think those kind of big match occasions might help them a little bit more, or?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. He was I think Don Kirby was the manager for the last one. I don't know if he was the one for Partick Thistle, but he was the manager for Rafe definitely last season, and obviously done very well in that. I think if I remember correctly, that was a tight game at Rafe Stadium, and then it came back to Dingwall and they absolutely destroyed Rafe Rovers. So he'll be hoping for the same, and that result there will give him the confidence, because I think Livingston are probably in a better place than where Rafe maybe were going into that playoff last season, and I think Ross County are probably in a worse place than where they were last season. So he'll have the confidence that he's done the hard bit. He's went to David Martindale and home ground and the Tony Macaroni and got a result on that tough pitch, and now he can get the players turned around and ready for Monday, which is going to be like a cup final for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of the actual scheduling from Sky? Because I don't know. Personally, I, I, I don't understand why they would play it on a Monday night. 8 o'clock. I just think it's not a very good time for, say, Livingston fans to get up there, or the home fans to really enjoy it. Because if you're working all day, then you've got the match. It's not really an ideal scenario. I would have thought maybe a Sunday at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I think it was it. I think it might have been. Was it Sunday last year or was it Sunday the year before? Let me see. I'm trying to look, but no, I agree with your point. It's a pretty poor decision to have it on those days. Let me see. Last year it was 23rd and 26th of May. Let me work that out. Bear with me. I'll be 2 seconds.
No worries. No,
Um,
I was just thinking because if you're a Livingston supporter and you're thinking about traveling possibly through the night, or you're a Livingston supporter who's young, who's going to school the next day, stuff like that, and it's like, of course the game's on Sky, but you want as many supporters there as possible, and
yeah,
I just think Sunday would have been ideal.
yeah. Last season it was Sunday was the first leg, the second leg was Wednesday, which I think's a better because at least one of the games is on the weekend, but to have none of the games on the weekend, um, and I mean Friday would be acceptable. I think Saturday they probably wouldn't have it because the Scottish Cup's obviously Saturday. But yeah, Sunday I don't see what's wrong with. Maybe even they could have had it. They probably wouldn't have had it on the same night as Europa League, mind you. They could have done it Wednesday, Sunday. They could have done it even Thursday, Sunday. I know that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Thursday, Sunday would have been fine.
yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm just thinking about trying to get the maximum amount of fans in the stadium.
No, definitely, because I think that's an overnight job for most people. If you're going to Dingwall, it's not. You go there and then you trot back home. You're going to have to, if you're going on the Monday night, you're either going to have to stay over and come back on the Tuesday, or you're going to have to come through the night and probably miss work on the Tuesday. People are working early, so it's not very convenient. You're definitely right.
I didn't
Especially
think
on
we,
Monday.
I
Monday.
didn't think I didn't think the locker room would ever turn into a travel show. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah, but well, we cover everything here. So let me see. I'm trying to see the year before because I think the year before might have been. Let me see. The year before was the 1st and 4th of June. So Saturday and Tuesday, the one before was. So they all seem to have a weekend game apart from this one. I think a Friday game would have been perfect as well because
yeah,
Friday's all.
because why I think the weekend would be important as well is because everybody enjoys the Friday nights on the telly, and obviously as well as it's weekend as well. So a lot of people don't work at weekends as well, and it would have been more for people to enjoy.
Definitely. But
Um,
I don't know
but
what's behind the decision making.
enough about the travel show because Michael will be telling me that I'm losing viewers because we're not talking about the football. But like I think the point you made earlier about not there being a big gap between the cha- the championship and the Premier League was a very good point because I think that was on evidence tonight. I think if you were to ask somebody who was a natural observer of Scottish football, they'd probably tell you that David Martindale's team, the home team in the game, would probably have been the Premier League team.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that saying. What do you think that the home team tonight was like the Premier League team? Are you saying that? Were you saying that going back to the Premier League team's pitch is an advantage to them?
No, I just mean that I just feel like if you were to say to anyone that's not watched Scottish football that who's the better team, you'd probably say
All right.
it was Livingston.
Yeah. No. I'd agree with that. No, I think we spoke about that earlier. Yeah, I think the league's in a good position in that sense. I think if Livingston were to get promoted, they would need sort of rework the squad. I think I do believe that. I do believe they would struggle next season with the squad they've got, but it's about getting there first, and they need to do that. But yeah, I definitely agree. There's been ties this season in the Scottish Cup and whatever. And I mean, what was it? Was it the season before? It was 2 Scottish Cups ago that Inverness Cali got to the final as the championship team.
Yeah, it was because it was Ange Postecoglou's last match
game.
as Celtic manager.
Yeah, so I mean,
I was there.
that doesn't happen on a usual basis. So I think that kind of shows. I'm trying to think of results this season. Obviously, you've got Queen's Park beating Rangers, massive result. Falkirk beat Hearts.
Yep.
Let me think. I'm trying to think of other ones. Definitely there's other ones. I think did Livingston not beat Ross County? I think they might have done in one of the cups.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'll have to double check that now.
But I think as well, and Mike will laugh because he'll say you've got other friends. But I was talking to a few of my pals the other day, and I was just saying that I think it would be ideal if we just had one. She instead of these 2-legged ties, she would just had a one-legged tie, a kind of winner takes it all. I think it was so much easier.
Yeah, definitely, I'd agree. One game, you have it on the weekend, so everyone that wants to go to, well, most people, saying that most people work a typical 9 to
Monday
5,
to Friday.
or something like that. Monday to Friday, yeah. Then you get most people going to it. You maybe put it in a neutral venue, and it's exciting to get both fans in. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, they do it in England with the playoff. Their playoffs obviously a little bit different. But yeah, I think it would be nice to have that. It would take out. I think it would make the game a whole lot better as well. We wouldn't have to sit through what we did tonight because it wasn't the best game of football, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and Ethan, I think if you look at both managers, I think if you said to both managers, you'll still be in the tie for being on Monday night. I think they'd be pretty satisfied with that.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree. Although I think David Martindale will be frustrated with how the game went, considering they were ahead for a half. They were ahead for a half, and then they lose. Well, they lose out in their lead with the very last kick of the ball.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about. I know it's no my expertise or your expertise, but and it would be nice to have Des here, and he'll probably tell me because it's lack of referees. But Andrew Dallas has been in charge of many calls this season. I can think of the one at Dundee a few weeks ago when he was part of Nick Walsh's team. I can think of a few high-profile matches he's been involved in when the Celtic ball was it over the line, was it not over the line? That one when Stephen McLean said he awarded the goal and then Andrew Dallas took it off. So I'm just wondering in general how these VR referees tend to get all the big matches when they're making the mistake after mistake.
Yeah, I know. I think some of the decisions of this season have been absolutely mind-boggling, and I'm glad they didn't make. I don't know if you heard me when I was saying this at the time, when you went off for a little bit, but I was saying about how the goal that or the shot in the first half from the Ross County corner that the Livingston keeper saved really well, and they were looking at it in VAR to see if it crossed the line. I was really hoping that they didn't give the goal, even though they had no right to give the goal. But you wouldn't put it past them to make that sort of stupid decision with the way it's been this season. The Celtic Hibs one was a terrible decision. The Rangers Hibs one at the weekend was maybe the worst decision of the season. And the ones that are debatable, or the sort of red cards and stuff like that, they're terrible decisions. The ones where the ball's out or in and you're trying to make a decision on it, and you can see the ball's clearly in the goal, for example, and you're not changing your decision, then they ones you just can't understand, because you feel like as a fan you would make the right decision in that position, and you don't even understand why they're making that decision. I think something that will make VR a whole lot better, which we've seen introduced in England a little bit, and the MLS as well, I think, is like they do in rugby, the VR or the referee clarifying why they're making the decision. I think that would reduce a lot of confusion, a lot of people getting annoyed, because if the referee says something, then yes, you'll still get people that are blindly, just because it's their team and it's against their team and it's not for their team, then they're just not going to listen to the referee. But for the most people, they'll listen to the referee and they'll maybe go, "Oh, okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough." But you don't have that opportunity, and with some of the decisions, I don't even know if that would help, because some of them have been absolutely ridiculous. Maybe this has been the worst season for VAR, and we should be going forward, not backwards.
And the problem with you saying has been the worst season for VAR is we were told this season was supposed to get better.
Yeah.
And also, so if you look at the very first season that was brought in, you had people like John Beaton that were awarding penalties when the ball was nowhere near people's hands. It was just, there was no way people could get out of the way. But remember when VAR just got introduced, it was like they were awarding penalties for nothing.
Yeah. One penalties to get money's worth at the VAR. It was like, I remember a penalty at Celtic Park. It might have been against Ross County, actually. And it was Matt O'Reilly, and the ball bounced off the floor.
It was Dundee United.
Was it? No, it was Dundee United, yes. And it bounced up off the floor and hit his arm that was by his side, and they gave a penalty. And it's like, come on, what is he meant to do?
Because Bernabé was beside him.
Yeah.
Remember that?
And some of the decisions have just, they're just ridiculous. And the clear and obvious part is, I think, what they need to remind themselves, because it's clear and obvious error, and they're trying to nitpick stuff that's not clear and obvious. If it's not clear and obvious, leave it. You've made the decision. People will debate about any decision, so no matter what way they're gonna decide it, yes or no, foul or not foul, red or not, offside. Well, offside's obviously factual, but they're just trying to get involved when they shouldn't do it at times. I think this goes across the board for VAR in other countries as well. But yeah, I think they should. It's clear and obvious errors, and they're overdoing it by getting involved in stuff that's not clear and obvious, and I think that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like what we're actually seeing at the moment, Scottish football's got a very good product, and nobody's saying that we are not really the rest, but we just wish there was a little bit a little bit more sense brought in at times, even.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like when you think that you could make a better job at it, that's when it's really poor. And I know some people will always say, you always get your fans that'll go, "Oh, well, I could always do a better job than the referees. Are hopeless." But everyone has that same opinion. It's not, nobody's sitting here going, "Oh, I think the referees have been good this season." It's universally agreed, and sort of agreed across not across the world maybe, but certainly across Scotland, that these referees haven't been doing good enough, and they're underperforming, and they're costing teams big moments. And yeah, you'd like to think that maybe they balance out across the season, and they probably do for the most part, but it's still not what you want. You want them to be getting the right decision most of the time, if not all of the time, and it's just not even close at the moment, and it makes you question the point in VAR, because although it is the future of football, it's just not being used properly.
Yeah, I mean, and finally, because it's just had 11 o'clock there, Ethan, a big weekend of Scottish football. We've got two finals at Hampden. We've got the Scottish Cup final and then the Ladies' Cup final. Glasgow City and Rangers and Celtic face off against Aberdeen.
Yeah, two massive games. Rangers. I'll speak about the women's game first. I think Rangers will want to win because they obviously had that massive disappointment last week where they lost out in the league and lost out in their Champions League spot to Glasgow City. So Rangers will be looking to win that cup and win the cup double this season for the men's. I think it'll be a comfortable win for Celtic. I'm struggling to see Aberdeen posing much of a threat. I think it's doom and gloom for Aberdeen at the moment. They've finished fifth in or they finished third in a two-horse race, as people say, for getting into fifth. And then obviously the stuff that happened with the fan throwing the seat onto the pitch as well. So it's really not going well. And weigh up the fact that Celtic are on a good run, although they drew at the weekend, and Celtic dismantled Aberdeen with a second choice team at Pittodrie like a week ago. So yeah, hard to see past Celtic.
Are you going to be on tomorrow, Ethan?
Tomorrow for
Celtic and Aberdeen preview. Are you going to be on at 5 tomorrow? Or?
I won't be able to be on tomorrow. No, I'm busy tomorrow, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I'll get your. That's why I was asking you because I'll get your prediction now. Then, what's your prediction?
All right.
For?
My prediction is I'm going with Aberdeen 0, Celtic 3. Comfortable for.
A comfortable win for the Hoops. I'll not give a prediction because I am back tomorrow with hopefully Michael, but I'm not sure yet, and hopefully a few other guys as well. Looking forward to it. I'm also going to be talking to Tino from the Celtic Exchange podcast as well. He's going to be live with me tomorrow, so that's going to be great as well. Thank you for joining me, Ethan. It's been good to have you on again.
Thank you for having me. It's been good to talk about the football, despite it not being the best game, but there's still entertainment value because it's Scottish football, and there always is.
And thank you to Michael in the background as well. Much appreciated. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. See you again soon.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live